The president of the Chesapeake and Ohio Railway made a secret deal with the U.S. government, a deal that would remain hidden for over 3 decades. The plan was simple and monstrous. They would build a fallout shelter for the entire United States Congress and hide it under America's most luxurious resort, the Greenbrier. You are standing in the rolling hills of West Virginia. Above you, a 5-star hotel where 28 U.S. presidents have stayed. It's a world of chandeliers, galas, and manicured golf courses. But beneath your feet, a concrete city was being built in total secrecy. The project's code name was Greek Island. Its purpose? To ensure the continuity of government after a nuclear holocaust. Think about that. While the wealthiest families in America vacationed, construction crews were blasting a cavern large enough to hold 2 football fields. The official story given to hotel staff and guests was that they were a new exhibit hall. Some exhibit hall. It had 18-inch thick steel-reinforced concrete walls and 2 blast doors, each weighing over 25 tons. Yes, you heard that correctly. 25 tons. The weight of a whale shark. And you could open it with just 50 pounds of pressure. Inside was a self-contained world. Dormitories with 1,100 bunk beds. A power station. A state-of-the-art water purification system. There was a clinic, a laboratory, and a pharmacy. They even built a television studio and a small broadcast center. This was so the surviving members of Congress could address the ashes of the nation. For 30 years, a small group of government employees worked undercover at the hotel. Their company was called Forsyth Associates. They posed as the hotel's audiovisual team, maintaining the conference room projectors. But their real job was to maintain a secret city for the dead. Every system was kept in a constant state of readiness. The filters were changed, the power generators tested, the supplies restocked. They were the silent guardians of America's last resort. The official documents state the bunker could sustain 1,100 people for 60 days. The communications room had direct lines to the White House. It was, on paper, a perfect plan. But the people who know about these things, they never talk about the one detail that was left out. The bunker had everything to survive the bomb. It had everything to survive the radiation. But it was missing one simple thing, a flaw so fundamental that it guaranteed everyone inside would have perished. Everything to survive, everything, that is, except a way to escape. The flaw was simple and terrifying. This $200 billion complex designed for survival had no exit strategy. Think about that for a moment. You've built the ultimate sanctuary only to realize you've locked yourself inside. What good is survival if you're permanently entombed? The official plans, now declassified, show no provision for a post-attack world. No way for Congress to re-emerge and lead. It was a tomb, not a temporary refuge. And here's where it gets interesting. The story of this hidden city, Greek Island, doesn't end with its construction. It continues with the people who kept its secrets. For 3 decades, from 1961 to 1992, the Forsyth Associates maintained a constant vigil. They were 12 to 15 individuals, rotating shifts. Their cover story was perfect. They managed the hotel's audio-visual equipment, the projectors, the sound systems, all mundane tasks. But beneath the surface, they were guardians of a doomsday secret. One former employee, a man named Paul Fritz, worked in the bunker for 25 years. He described it as a place of constant readiness. Every system, from the massive diesel generators to the water purification system, was meticulously checked, every single week. Imagine that dedication. The air filters alone were enormous, designed to scrub radioactive particles from the incoming air. But what happens when those filters clog? What happens when the outside world is still too toxic to breathe? Nobody asked that question, not officially anyway. The bunker's supply of food and medicine was designed for 60 days, just 2 months. After that, what then? The official narrative suggests a return to normalcy. But what normalcy? After a nuclear exchange? This is where the narrative breaks down. You're told to survive, but not how to live afterwards. This facility, a testament to Cold War paranoia, was a marvel of engineering. Its main chamber, over 100,000 square feet, could easily hold multiple jumbo jets. It contained a power plant, a medical facility, and even a small incinerator. For what, you might wonder? Perhaps for the inevitable. The blast doors, each 25 tons, were designed to seal the occupants inside, not just from the blast, but from the aftermath. You could open them with 50 pounds of pressure from the inside. But what if the outside was still too dangerous? What if the air was unbreathable for years? The planners never addressed this. Or, if they did, the answers remained locked away. The sheer scale of the project was immense. Thousands of tons of concrete, millions of dollars in equipment, all for a temporary stay, a pause before extinction. One of the most fascinating details involved the communications center. It boasted a direct, secure line to the White House, a red phone. Imagine the conversations that might have taken place on that line, or the silence. The official documents claim the bunker was never activated for its primary purpose. But how much can we trust official documents from an era defined by secrecy? What if it was? What if, for a brief, terrifying moment, the fate of the nation rested on those 1,100 bunk beds? The bunker was built to house members of Congress and their essential staff. But what about their families, the spouses, the children? They were not included, only the vital few. A chilling calculus of survival. This detail, often overlooked, reveals the brutal pragmatism of the Cold War. You might be safe, but your loved ones? Not so much. The bunker also featured a television studio, a place for the surviving leaders to address the nation, to offer hope, or perhaps to explain the unimaginable. What kind of message would you deliver from a concrete tomb? A message of resilience? Or a final goodbye? The secrecy surrounding Greek Island was absolute. Workers signed non-disclosure agreements. Hotel staff were kept in the dark. Even the local residents, living just miles away, had no idea what lay beneath the mountain. Not until 1992. That year, a reporter for the Washington Post, Ted Gupp, broke the story. He published a detailed account, revealing the bunker's existence. The government was furious. The project, once a deep secret, was suddenly exposed. And with its exposure, its purpose effectively ended. Why keep a secret bunker if the enemy knows exactly where it is? The revelation sent shockwaves, not just through the government, but through the small community of White Sulphur Springs. Imagine discovering your peaceful resort town harbored a doomsday secret for 3 decades. What does that say about trust, about transparency? The Greenbrier bunker was decommissioned shortly after Gupp's article. Its purpose shattered by public knowledge. But the questions remain. Were there other bunkers like it, hidden in plain sight? And what other secrets still lie buried beneath our feet, waiting for the right moment to be revealed? Hidden in plain sight? And what other secrets still lie buried beneath our feet, waiting for the right moment to be revealed? Yes, many more. And some are far more chilling than the Greenbrier. Consider Iron Mountain, Pennsylvania, a former limestone mine, 60 meters underground. It was purchased in 1951 by Herman Knaust, a mushroom farmer. But he had a much larger vision than fungi. Knaust began transforming this vast underground space into a secure storage facility. For what? For America's most sensitive documents and its most valuable treasures. Think about what that means. This wasn't just a place for old tax records. By the 1960s, the U.S. government became a major client. The facility grew. It became a fortress, a city beneath the earth. Today, Iron Mountain is a massive data repository. It spans over 700 hectares. Imagine 1,000 football fields, all underground. It houses the original negatives for hundreds of thousands of films, including Gone with the Wind. It holds the intellectual property of countless corporations and the medical records of millions of Americans. But its original purpose, its Cold War purpose, was far more sinister. It was designed to protect the very fabric of American life. Not just from bombs, but from the chaos that would follow. The sheer scale is difficult to comprehend. The facility has its own fire department, its own security force, even its own power grid. It's a self-contained world. You're told it's for data, but what about the other things? The things that can't be digitized? The official narrative states it's a secure commercial vault. But the government's involvement, stretching back over 70 years, suggests something deeper, something more strategic. The National Archives and Records Administration, NARA, stores millions of cubic feet of records there. The Social Security Administration keeps backup data. Even the Smithsonian Institution has vaults there, protecting priceless artifacts. What happens when the world above ground collapses? This facility, deep beneath the mountains, becomes the last bastion, the last link to a civilization that once was. And here's where it gets truly unsettling. The existence of these facilities, the Greenbrier and Iron Mountain, were not isolated incidents. They were part of a vast, interconnected network, a secret government within a government, operating in the shadows. The Department of Defense, the CIA, the NSA, all had their own secure sites, their own continuity plans. These weren't just bunkers. They were command centers, designed to restart a nation, to rebuild from nothing. But who would be chosen to rebuild? And under what authority? The Greenbrier was for Congress. But who would lead the military? Who would manage the intelligence apparatus? The answer lay in other, even more clandestine locations, places you will never see, places whose very existence is denied. And now pay attention to this. The technology to build these vast underground complexes existed in the 1950s. But the technology to truly secure them, to make them impervious to every imaginable threat, was still developing. This is where Nikola Tesla enters the story. Not directly, but his ideas, his terrifying potential. Tesla envisioned a world powered by wireless energy, a grid that could transmit electricity through the very earth. Imagine the implications for these underground cities. Unlimited power, undetectable, a true off-grid existence. His research into resonant frequencies, into scalar waves, these were dismissed as fringe science. But what if they weren't? What if a fraction of his work was secretly developed? What if the military saw the potential for a new kind of weapon, or a new kind of defense? A silent shield. The official story is that Tesla died penniless, his papers confiscated by the FBI. They say his ideas were too outlandish, too impractical. But the FBI kept them for decades. Why? What secrets were hidden within those documents? Documents that remain classified to this day. You might think this is science fiction, but the line between science fiction and military reality is often blurred, especially during the Cold War. Consider the concept of EMPs, electromagnetic pulses. A single nuclear detonation high above the atmosphere could wipe out all electronics across an entire continent. How do you protect against that? Traditional shielding only goes so far, but what if you could create an energy field? A localized bubble of protection, a Tesla-inspired shield. This is not a confirmed fact, but it is a chilling possibility, one that the planners of these underground facilities would have desperately sought. The Greenbrier bunker, with its 1,100 bunk beds, was a symbol of desperation, a last resort. But Iron Mountain, that was a symbol of resilience, a long-term strategy, to preserve, to rebuild, to ensure that even if the world above burned, the knowledge, the history, the very essence of America would survive. The cost of these projects? Untold billions. The human cost? Even higher. The constant fear, the psychological toll on those who maintained these secrets. The Forsyth associates at the Greenbrier. They lived a double life for 30 years. What kind of person signs up for that? What kind of sacrifice does that demand? Their families knew nothing. Their friends suspected nothing. They were ghosts, guarding a ghost city. The official story about these underground networks is always incomplete. It always leaves out the darkest parts, the parts that question humanity's future, the parts that hint at technologies far beyond our understanding. What other secrets, what other terrifying potentials still lie buried in the archives, waiting for their moment to reshape our reality? What other terrifying potentials still lie buried in the archives, waiting for their moment to reshape our reality? The sheer psychological weight of these secrets, the constant vigilance, it took a profound toll on the individuals involved. Think about the Forsyth associates at the Greenbrier. They lived a double life for 30 years. What kind of person signs up for that? What kind of sacrifice does that demand? Their families knew nothing. Their friends suspected nothing. They were ghosts, guarding a ghost city. You might wonder, how did they manage it? How did they maintain such an elaborate charade for 3 decades? They became masters of deception. Every casual conversation, every interaction was a performance. One former associate, who preferred to remain anonymous, described the feeling as being perpetually on stage. He said, "You learn to compartmentalize your life. The person you were at the hotel was not the person you were at home." This constant division, this internal chasm, surely left its scars. The official documents rarely touch on the human element. They speak of concrete, steel, and contingency plans. But they omit the sleepless nights, the gnawing anxiety, the personal cost of maintaining a secret that could determine the fate of a nation. This is where the story truly becomes personal. Imagine telling your spouse you're just going to work, knowing you're actually descending into a hidden city, preparing for the end of the world. What do you think that does to a marriage, to a family? This isn't just about bunkers and blast doors. It's about the erosion of trust, the burden of knowledge, the silence of those who knew. You see, the government needed these people. They needed their dedication, but they asked for everything in return: their privacy, their peace of mind, their very identity. One woman, the wife of a Forsyth employee, once remarked, "He was always busy, always working. I never really knew what he did." A chilling statement, a window into a hidden life. The children of these operatives grew up with a parent who was always distant, always preoccupied. What explanation do you offer a child for a parent's constant unavailability, for their sudden disappearances? The truth, of course, was unthinkable. It wasn't just the Greenbrier. Across the country, in other secret facilities, similar stories unfolded. Men and women dedicated their lives to tasks they could never speak about. They were the unsung heroes, or perhaps the unseen victims, of the Cold War's darkest secrets. Consider the psychological impact of living with the constant threat of nuclear annihilation, not just as a distant possibility, but as a daily professional reality. You weren't just reading about it in the news. You were actively preparing for it, testing the generators, stocking the supplies, changing the filters. The smell of diesel fumes, the hum of machinery, became the soundtrack to their hidden lives. It was a constant reminder of the world's fragility, a world they were sworn to protect in the most desperate of circumstances. The official narrative suggests these individuals were simply employees, technicians, maintenance staff. But they were much more than that. They were custodians of a future that might never arrive. They carried the weight of national survival on their shoulders, and they did it in silence. This isn't just history. It's a testament to human resilience and to human sacrifice. The government demanded absolute loyalty, absolute secrecy, and they got it. But at what price? What was the cost to their souls, to their relationships? We may never truly know. These individuals were sworn to secrecy until their deaths, or until the information was declassified. Even then, many chose to remain silent. The habit of secrecy, once ingrained, is difficult to shed. It becomes a part of who you are. This is a profound lesson in the human cost of national security. It shows us that beneath every concrete slab, behind every blast door, there are human stories, stories of fear, dedication, and unimaginable sacrifice. Stories that question the very nature of truth and trust. And as we look at the quiet mountains of Appalachia, we are left to wonder what other personal histories, what other silent burdens still lie hidden there, what other individuals carried secrets that shaped their entire lives, and perhaps the course of our own. They did not vanish with the Cold War. They are here, with us, now. Because the bunkers never truly went away. They just changed their shape. The Greenbrier bunker, codenamed Greek Island, was officially decommissioned in 1995. And what became of this monument to existential dread? You can now take a tour. For a fee, you can walk the same halls designed for the last survivors of Congress. You can touch the 25-ton blast door. It has become a tourist attraction. Think about the profound irony in that. We now pay to be entertained by the architecture of our own potential extinction. A comfortable way to look into the abyss, behind glass, on a schedule. But this is the part nobody talks about. While tourists walk through one decommissioned bunker, the others are more powerful than ever. Iron Mountain, the underground city in Pennsylvania, is thriving. It no longer just protects paper documents or film negatives. It protects the new gold, data. Its clients include the U.S. government, major banks, and global corporations. The Cold War's continuity of government plan has evolved into the 21st century's continuity of business plan. The fear is the same. Only the asset has changed. The concrete fortress has become a server farm. The threat is no longer just a nuclear winter, but a digital one. A catastrophic cyber attack. A global network collapse. The very things that connect our modern world could instantly become our undoing. And so we build new bunkers, not of concrete and steel, but of fiber optics and encryption, hidden in plain sight, anonymous in Virginia, under the sea in cooled containers, in the frozen expanse of the Arctic Circle. The paranoia that dug into the Appalachian Mountains now circles the globe in a web of light. The Doomsday train never stopped running. It just switched tracks, from analog to digital. From protecting a few thousand chosen individuals to protecting a few trillion chosen files. And here's the twist. The original bunkers, like the Greenbrier, were built on a lie. The lie that you could survive, wait out the storm, and then emerge to rebuild. But as we learned, there was no exit plan, no way to face the poisoned world outside. What is the lie we tell ourselves about our new digital bunkers? That our data is safe? That our connections are secure? That we can simply reboot civilization if it all goes dark? We have spent trillions of dollars preparing for the end of the world. First with blast doors, now with firewalls. We have engineered systems of breathtaking complexity to ensure